Welcome to Larry the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. And welcome to another edition of Midweek Maiden. I haven't done a Midweek Maiden in some time. This is where we get together with you in the middle of the week to talk some Iron Maiden. I had a completely different topic that I was getting ready to record, and I was sitting here lining everything up. I was sort of reminiscing about the first time I heard Iron Maiden and how I discovered Iron Maiden. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to make a video on that. So I just hit record. Here we go. I discovered Iron Maiden through MTV, believe it or not. And I was trying to remember when we got MTV in my house. I knew MTV had just came out. I looked it up. MTV aired for the first time in August of '81. I remember some kids that I knew were like, we just got MTV. And I was like, when am I going to get MTV in my house? And so we had just gotten MTV. That was the first part of the story here. And the other thing is that I had just started playing bass. Now, I grew up in a very rural area, and this is the early 80s. And there was only one person that taught guitar where I lived. And he didn't teach bass. He was a guitar teacher. He was an old country picker, the 10-gallon hat, the Down by the River, all of these country songs. And I had played guitar before I played bass, but I had just switched over to bass. And I distinctly remember my guitar teacher, who is now my bass teacher, telling me that bass players never play above the 5th fret. For those who know, the lower frets are the ones where your hand is just farther up there. The low notes. They only play low notes. They never go higher up on the neck. All right, so let's fast forward now to we just get MTV in my house. I mean, we've only had it like a week or something like that. And I couldn't sleep one night, and where our TV was in our house, it was on our bedrooms were upstairs, the TV was downstairs in like a den. So I went down in the middle, and I remember it was after midnight. I turn on MTV, and they're playing Iron Maiden Live at the Rainbow, which is a Paul Di'Anno show from, I think it's from the Killers tour, and I'm pretty sure they play songs from Killers on that. And I turn on MTV, and there it is. And I don't remember where I came in on it. I know I didn't see it from the beginning. But I distinctly remember, I think I came in on Phantom of the Opera, which is towards the end of the video, I believe, the live show. And I was just absolutely floored by the sound of the band, by Steve Harris. And if as we know in Phantom of the Opera, there's that bass solo that Steve Harris does way up high on the neck. And I remember seeing that and just being like, oh my gosh, just being floored by this. And I immediately fell in love with it. And I'm almost certain that, I mean, at that time, the only two Iron Maiden albums that would have been out would have been Iron Maiden and Killers. So I got the self-titled Iron Maiden record, which I'm pretty sure I made a video on this. If I did, I'll leave it in a link in the description. And man, there's just bass all over this record. and I was just taken aback by the sound of the band. They had this kind of a little bit of a classical feel to them, like in the minor scales and stuff and the runs and everything that they played. At that time, I was really only listening to a couple different things. I was listening to Black Sabbath. I had discovered AC/DC in 1980. I can't remember if I had discovered Judas Priest quite yet. I know Judas Priest happened right around the same time. I'm guessing that I probably discovered Judas Priest after Iron Maiden. I was hearing some stuff on college radio. You hear me talk about that all the time. But this was different than anything I had heard before. It was way faster than Black Sabbath, but it still had that little bit of a horror feel and minor key. Scary vibe to it. It had a musicianship level. The guitar players playing the harmonies to Adrian Smith and Dave Murray, and then just Steve Harris doing his thing and Paul Di'Anno's voice. You know, there's moments in your life that are snapshots. That's a snapshot. That's a mini little movie in my mind. I can picture myself standing there where the TV was, turning on MTV, hearing that, and just being frozen in my tracks. And I got this album, the first Iron Maiden record, and I brought it to my guitar teacher, bass teacher, who, if you remember, told me that, oh, bass players only play down here, play really low notes. They just play like 1 or 2 notes at a time. And I brought this in. It was like, oh, I want to play like this. I said, I want to play like this. Here's the album. I saw this guy on TV, and he's playing way up high on the bass neck, and I want to play like that. And my teacher, was like, what in the world is this? And he put it on. He had it on cassette. He put it in the cassette thing, and was like, I can't teach you this because I have no idea what this is. I have no idea what is going on here. You have to go somewhere. With my blessing, you have to go somewhere else if you want to play stuff like this. And man, it made such a mark on me, that Iron Maiden had such a unique sound. It was this blend of what I wanted to hear, of great musicianship, that little bit of a gothic, as in time period, feel and vibe to it, the titles of the songs and everything, Phantom of the Opera and all that. It just really appealed to me. The album cover, of course, had a kind of a horror vibe to it. And I remember the picture on the back here. I remember thinking like, oh, that's like the video that I saw. The Live at the Rainbow is very stripped down. They don't have a big stage. Dang, I remember Eddie comes out, I believe, at the end. I think he comes out and might have come out in Phantom of the Opera. I don't remember. I haven't watched that Live at the Rainbow video in some time. But man, it just made a huge impression on me. Stuff like Remember Tomorrow, Strange World, the moodiness of that, but it was still very melodic. And the song Iron Maiden, Transylvania, the way Transylvania moves into Strange World is just great. Now, my second Iron Maiden cassette that I got was Peace of Mind. And I didn't get Killers till a little bit later. I just couldn't find it at my local mall record store. So it wasn't until a little later that I got Killers. So it went from the first album, and I remember reading that, they have a different singer, and I hope that, this guy is really good. No, actually it was Number of the Beast. I had Number of the Beast before I had Peace of Mind, because I remember thinking, oh, they have a new singer, and then I saw the videos, and I was like, whoa, this is like taking it even to a whole nother level. But again, there's moments in time that changed my musical trajectory for what I listened to and with me as a musician. And this was one of them. Was that night. Thank goodness I couldn't sleep. And it was like a weeknight too, like a school night, like a Tuesday night, Thank goodness I couldn't sleep. Went down. The timing was perfect. I caught just the end of that Live at the Rainbow, and it changed my life forever. And I've been an Iron Maiden fan since then. So let me know in the comments down below, when did you guys discover Iron Maiden? Do you remember hearing them for the first time? How did you hear them? What did you hear? What song or what album? And just what were those initial thoughts? When you heard it for the first time. This point in time for me was so magical because it was all so new to me. And I just kept hearing things that were like, whoa, I've never heard anything like this before. And, I was so much I had Ozzy's Blizzard of Oz already, and I liked that classical tone that Randy brought to Blizzard and Diary. And then I was hearing some of that here with Iron Maiden, but there was a different take on it. And so it was just such an exciting time to be discovering all these things and just getting my mind blown every time I heard one of these new albums or at that time, new bands for me. So let me know what it was like for you guys. What was it like the first time you heard Iron Maiden? Tell me your story. Tell me down in the comments down below. Till we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.